Did the Townsend Sphere nail the sound of the iconic Sennheiser 416 shotgun microphone? You let me know what you think. Hey everybody, it's Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov, and if you don't recognize this microphone, then you may not have been doing VO for a while, because this microphone is everywhere in VO. And a lot of people do not like the 416 for VO because they think it sounds ugly. It does. It's an ugly sounding microphone, but it has a certain sonic profile that is very recognizable that producers really like because the ugliness of this microphone, the harmonic content, and I know I say harmonic content a lot. You turn it into a drinking game. Every time I say harmonic content, you drink. So the ugliness, the kind of, I would say, jagged, sawtoothy waveform that the 416 produces when you are really up on it, will cut through a music bed. It'll cut through a promo bed. It is really a microphone that is supposed to be used at a distance for dialogue. But when you're really up on it, it has a certain sound. It's kind of fat. It's kind of, it's a promo sound. And I think we all recognize this as a promo sound and a trailer sound. In a world where baby chimpanzees cry banana-flavored tears. The 416 is a microphone with a very love-hate relationship with many VO artists. It's transformerless, so it's fast. It's kind of not that quiet. It's not terrible, but small diameter condensers like this generally have a higher noise floor, but something you can deal with. The 416, iconic microphone, does it compare to the Townsend Sphere? Let's find out. All right, so this is the Townsend Sphere, and it's set on the 416, but it's set not exactly the same polar pattern as the 416. Right now, the Townsend Sphere is set in cardioid. So let me back off a little bit. So what do you think? So Townsend Sphere 416 in cardioid, regular 416 in hypercardioid. It has a natural hypercardioid pattern. So you can drift off it a little bit, but not a whole lot, because once you kind of get over here, then it sounds different than when you're over here, right? The Townsend Sphere, you can kind of drift around a little bit more. You can be a little bit more, active around the mic if you choose. So let's just read some copy. All right, and then I'm going to switch the sphere. Actually, I'm going to switch the polar pattern on the sphere so that you can see what it sounds like. Well, does it get closer? Does it get further away? So let's, hold on. I just wrote a really stupid fake commercial. This is really based upon almost, I do so many commercials, so many of them are just like this. This is just kind of a generic version of a commercial type that I do a lot. All right. So let me do it first on the real 416. The biggest sale of the year is going on now, this weekend only. Come check out the best prices on everything you need to do that thing you do the right way. Plus, you can finance your purchase for 48 months with 0% interest on approved credit. Hurry in. Don't miss out on the biggest sale of the year at your local Super Duper store, your one-stop shop for everything you need for that thing. All right. Townsend Sphere. The biggest sale of the year is going on now, this weekend only. Come check out the best prices on everything you need to do that thing you do the right way. Plus, you can finance your purchase for 48 months with 0% interest on approved credit. Hurry in. Don't miss out on the biggest sale of the year at your local Super Duper store, your one-stop shop for everything you need to do that thing you do. I didn't have the last sentence written out, so I hope it's the same on both spots. But either way, you get the idea. I could just shorten this. But anyway, all right. So here's the sphere in cardioid. But let's click it over to supercard. All right, supercard, a little bit of a tighter pattern. You get a little bit more of that low end in there, right? All right, what does it sound like? What does it sound like? All right, so here's the 416 in its normal, natural state of supercardioidness, supercardioidosity, expeditious. So here it is, supercard. All right, so lease a brand new Honda Accord LX for only $219 a month. Lease a brand new Honda Accord LX for only $219 a month. What do you think? All right, so let's pop the Sphere over to HyperCard. HyperCard, all right? Lease a brand new Honda Accord LX for only $219 a month. Lease a brand new Honda Accord LX for only $219 a month. All right, well, how about, I wasn't planning on this, so let's pull something else up. Give me a second here. I am so unorganized when I do this. I don't really have a plan going into it. I just hit record. I have like 3 things in my mind that I want to say. All right. Okay, here we go. Tale of Two Cities. All right, here we go. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct, the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received, for good or for evil, in the superlative degree of comparison only. I could have read that better. Here we go. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct, the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received, for good or for evil, in the superlative degree of comparison only. All right, so I think really for this microphone, for this particular setup, I just lost track of my, all right, so I think that really, I think it's close enough. I've been using the Townsend Sphere in the booth as opposed to having the Sphere and the 416 in the booth at the same time. So I've been using the Sphere 416. Actually, here, I'll pop it back in cardioid. In cardioid, I've been using it a lot. And, you know, one of the things that I like about this is that it does have a wider sweet spot than the 416 does. So, like, I can move around because I just have that kind of energy. So, it's helpful in that. And of course, it's easier than hanging 2 mics that do the same thing in the booth. But I love the 416. I love you, 416. I do. I'm not forsaking you. You are an awesome microphone. I love you. I'm keeping you. I'm not selling you. So anyway, what do you think? Tell me about this. What do you like? What do you like better? Do you like this better? Do you like this better? That's in cardioid. Let me put it back in hyper C. All right, so do you like this better? Do you like this better? All right. Hello, hello, hello. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. All right, so anyway, so I wanted to address one thing real quick. So, Sanchez on Gearspace, fellow Micaholic Sanchez checking in, and he wanted to know more about my VO journey. So I'm just gonna, it's a long story, so I'm gonna really give you the short version. So, in the mid 2000s, okay, so in the late 1990s, I started working for a TV music production company. We were doing big sitcoms and stuff like that. So, mid 2000s, I'm VP of this TV production company, and I get an opportunity because I'd started a podcast. I started a podcast in my car driving to and from Venice, where our office was. So I started a podcast because people who drove, and I used to take Pacific Coast Highway, the famed PCH, along the coast. And I drive home at the end of the day. And when you work in television, it's stressful. So I drive home, kind of like in Los Angeles traffic, yelling at other drivers, "You idiot!" And I eventually turned that into a podcast that I was recording in my car. That turned into a radio show on Sirius Satellite Radio. Okay? So I got really into making a living on a microphone because I quit the TV production company to start working full time for this podcast network at the time called Pod Show. And so I'm at Pod Show for a while, and then I leave Pod Show to do a TV show. And while I'm at Pod Show, I had created a bunch of podcasts, a bunch of shows. And part of what we were doing was, promoting shows, creating new shows. And I ended up becoming friends with Don LaFontaine, the great Don LaFontaine, the legend. I mean, the guy with like the greatest voice ever. And so Don became a pal, and I ended up hiring him to do some promos for some books that I wrote. And so Don did these promos, and he was very kind and he was very nice. And one day it came up in conversation. I was like, I would love to do what you do. And I was like, I knew that I couldn't because I didn't have that voice. And he's like, Mark, you could totally do what I do. And I was like, what? And I didn't really act on it. And then like a year and a half later, Don died. It was just out of nowhere. It was very unexpected. He was ill. He became ill very sudden. He had an infection. He died. And I was really heartbroken. And a little while later, I'm working on this TV show, and I'm writing books. And I had a book that had just come out called Fatal Sunset. It was a Vanished Beauty, Fatal Sunset, Vanished Beauty. It was a sequel to a book that I'd written previously that had done pretty well called Fatal Sunset. So Vanished Beauty comes out. I put it out, and it's selling well right off the bat, just based on the other books that I had written. Because honestly, if you want to sell a book, if you want a book to sell, what you have to do is write another book. Because the more books you have, the better they sell. Anyway, so during the break, I kind of like, as I was going to promote the book, and I really didn't have to promote the book. I was kind of tired of doing like waking up at 4 a.m. to do radio interviews on the other side of the coast and stuff like that. I know that sounds like a stupid thing to complain about. But it's a pain. It's a pain. Doing radio interviews is not really the most exciting thing when you're an author because you're doing the same interview over and over and over again. And anyway, God, that's stupid. I don't want to complain about that. So anyway, I love doing radio interviews. So I said, I'm going to take 90 days and I'm going to do full bore, go into VO, see how it works, try my best. I basically had another friend of mine who was a VO artist hook me up with an agent, and it kind of took off. And ever since then, for the last since 2013, I've been doing VO full time. It's just like I stepped into the river and it carried me away. And it's great. It's been awesome. So anyway, Sanchez, thank you for asking. That is my long, boring VO story. There's a lot more to it, but that's the Reader's Digest version. Anyway, I know most of you have tuned out, but for those of you who haven't, you're awesome. You are awesome. All right, so again, Townsend Sphere, Real 416. What do you think? There's no EQ on either of these. All right, so which microphone would you use? All right, so let me know. Hey, like, subscribe, comment. I know, I hate the begging. Anyway, but it's necessary. Okay. Until next time, this is Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov, fading to black.